Okay, hello and welcome to our first edition of Pay It Forward. My name is Ben Rookwood. I am part of the coaching staff at Cortex. As a mindset and fitness coach, I've just had to connect with a lot of diverse people over the years. And for me to get the best chance of that connection, I've had to understand and appreciate their journeys and what they're going through. Pay It Forward is a platform and an opportunity for people to talk about their experiences. We want to create awareness. We also want to engage with people that may feel isolated. And we also want to challenge current stereotypes and thoughts. Today's edition then, we're going to be talking about gender, and we're going to be talking about what it's like for a female to be in a perceived male dominant environment. Today, I'm lucky enough to have two guests join me for today's discussion. Our first guest is Naomi Williams, who is a whole-time firefighter and also a gymnastic coach at Flip and Flex Gymnastics.
Flex and Flip.
Flex and Flip. One job, Ben. Come on. And also we've got Lottie Burton, who is an ex-football player. I'm going to get this right. Who is a sports therapist and owner of Better Body Sports Therapy.
Boom.
Got that one right. Apologies. Sorry. My dyslexia was kicking in, baby. I was just trying to think in my head. Okay, apologies. Guys, how are we doing first? Good?
Yeah, good. Thank you.
Firstly, just want to say big thank you for joining and taking part in our first edition of Pay It Forward. Can't thank you enough. So we've had awesome discussion before. Really cool stories and experiences. I really got an insight and some knowledge there, so thank you very much. So basically, we're just going to kind of run through what we talked about and discuss all the finer points, and then just see where that takes us. So Lottie, let's start with you. So you being an ex-footballer, so when you first started out, you was 7 years old.
Roughly, yeah.
Yeah, roughly 7 years old. Okay, so a few years ago. Not saying that you're old.
Getting on a bit.
Yeah. So when you started, firstly, what attracted you to football? What was it?
My father.
Okay,
I think he wanted a boy. One of the first few pictures of me as a baby, I'm in my little Liverpool baby grow. Was always being proudly presented in my Liverpool kit. And then I think just playing around with him in the house with footballs. I think my mum tried to influence by bringing in dollies and prams and was never interested in that. And then, I don't really know what first made me go and play, but I think my dad knew somebody that was getting involved in a women's team in Flitwick, where I grew up. And he was like, yeah, bring her down, see how she gets on. And that was it, my introduction into football. Started.
Awesome. Okay, so in a female only team when you first started, or was there mixed?
So there was a bit of a mix to begin with. I remember having a boy goalkeeper, and then there was quite a few females of a kind of differing age, and then we went into a team of all girls, so probably only a couple of years into starting to play, a team of all girls, but we played in a majority boys dominated league.
Okay,
so cool. There was our female team, another female team, and the rest were all boys.
Yeah. Okay, so when you started making that transition and separated, did you kind of feel, when you first started, did you feel that this was football, and then was football different for you because you then was in pigeonholed it into a female only team?
Absolutely not. I had no idea of the gender difference. I was completely unaware of it growing up. I think I just played football, and I played football with the boys and the girls. I didn't really see a difference in who I was playing with or against. It was just playing football. I remember losing a lot against the boys, which maybe first made me switch on to the idea. But as a kid, I was completely oblivious to it.
Was there any kind of comments? So when you was playing boys teams, was there kind of any sort of negative comments or bad attitudes drawn towards you and your team?
Probably not when playing. I probably experienced that more at school.
Yeah.
So playing on the playground, for example, I probably wouldn't be sat with the girls. I'm being really stereotypical here. Sat with the girls
Yeah.
making daisy chains. I'd probably be playing football,
Yeah.
ruining my trainers, so my mum would get angry. Um, yeah, that's probably when I noticed it most. That just throwaway comments, probably like, you shouldn't be playing football. You're a girl.
Yeah.
Don't get your like nails dirty. Blah blah blah. But again, I would think I was completely oblivious to it as a kid.
How did that escalate growing up as a teenager? So like, you know, once you're hitting, so you see typically with I've noticed or speaking to a lot of people, their journey, they were really sporty at a young age, but then once they hit the kind of, you know, 13, 14, that's when they kind of either keep pursuing the sports, or they feel either through peer pressure or other distractions that they females will kind of sacrifice sport and chase something else. Was there any kind of transition period for yourself, or did you see a sort of any difference?
I was still a tomboy as I went through my teenage years. I played, even that term I think is maybe a bit stereotypical. I
Yeah.
was just a
How did you
girl that
feel?
liked.
Did people actually call you a tomboy?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
I would always, again, still be in my football kits. I played lots of different sports. My life was probably surrounded by sports. I hang out with my girlfriends and we did girly things, but then I also liked playing sports,
Yeah.
which there shouldn't really be a you should be doing this or should be doing this. Why can't that be integrated?
So the term tomboy that was obviously put upon you, is that just purely because your love and commitment to sport, and notably football?
Absolutely, yeah. Maybe by the clothes I wore, but
Yep.
that was again influenced by enjoying sport. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So yeah, as obviously you progressed, obviously you get into a good standard, and then obviously then you started playing in the Women's Premier League.
Yes.
So there, you're obviously seeing significant differences from there. Again, what was that experience like, being a Premier League footballer?
Yeah, so as we progressed up into the ladies teams, so I'm not entirely sure what age it was, but we were then not allowed to play with the boys anymore.
Yep.
So we went into ladies football. And again, that kind of stereotypical nature was always perceived upon us with derogatory terms, probably not necessarily by the people I'm playing with, but yeah, other people. I was always deemed to be a lesbian because I was playing football.
Yep. How did that feel? So like, when people were making them comments, did they kind of affect you? Did you question yourself, or did you did you ever think like, oh, I don't want to play this now because of that? Did it sort of...
Yeah, I was young, so I stepped up straight into the ladies squad as soon as I was 16. You're allowed to play ladies football as you're 16. So I was still a teenager. I was probably questioning myself. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just here to play football. Why is this kind of negative connotations always put on? But yeah, actually playing the game, there wasn't really an issue once we were actually playing the football. Yeah, which is interesting.
Yeah, which is good for you to do, and yeah, again, must have been tough. It's something that you love and enjoy doing, but yeah, there's that kind of negative side and having that issue. Yeah, so
absolutely.
That's the story when you told me about your GCSE PE exam. Share kind of how that went as well. Bearing in mind you're playing football at a high standard. Was you then playing in the Premier League, or was this just before?
So it would have been just before. So
just before.
I was maybe 15, 16.
Still would have been of a good standard if you was then making the jump a year later. Yeah.
Yeah, we were progressing. So yeah, GCSE PE, we had I think like 4 sports that we had to be moderated in, and obviously my top sport was football. And we did all the kind of skills section. There was in my year group me, another female playing football, and then the rest were all boys. And we did all the skill sections, the warm-ups, the kind of analysis bits. And then it came to the game, and me and my friend were pulled out. We were told that we are not allowed to play in the match with the boys because we're girls.
Yeah.
So obviously we were outraged. We were like, we're just playing football. Why can't we play?
Yeah.
And instead they gave us a predicted grade for our match play because we weren't allowed to play football with the boys.
Did your PE teacher know how good you was at football, or?
Yes, so we had to have our games filmed for. I think we had a couple of games filmed. So when I was playing for Bedford Ladies at this point, I don't know who filmed it, but our parents set up the cameras. So we had to submit that information to our PE teachers, to the PE board. So they saw us play at our regular standard, but that point when the examiners were watching us, we were not. We had to sit on the sideline. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting way of dealing with it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Lottie. Naomi. So Naomi, you're in the fire service. How long have you been a whole-time firefighter now?
4 years now.
4 years now.
Yeah.
Awesome. So have you always wanted to be in the fire service, or was it something that kind of later cropped up in life? Or
It's sort. I just said it wasn't always what I wanted to do. I always wanted to be a PE teacher when I was younger.
Yeah.
But I'd say the last 10 years, it sort of appealed to me. I'd finished my degree at uni. I was working in an office job, which was cool. Loved working there, but it just wasn't me.
Yeah.
And I just remember thinking, I just need to do something else. So that appealed to me at the time. But they weren't recruiting in Bedfordshire, so it was quite a long wait until they were.
Is that the reason? So we sorry to jump in. So when you said about the 10 years, you was kind of thinking about it.
Yeah.
Was that due to recruitment, or was that due to there was a recruitment period at one time and you missed the boat, or you felt that you couldn't do it, or was there any sort of barriers?
No. So the only so they hadn't. When I started my recruitment course, they hadn't done one for about 8 years prior to that.
Right.
So within Bedfordshire, there wasn't the opportunity.
Yeah.
There probably was in brigades around, but I hadn't looked into it massively deeply because I found, I was a sports therapist as well prior, and I went and done that, which I was really enjoying at the time. And then I found out they were recruiting, so that's when I went for it.
Yeah.
So
awesome. So myself, when I joined the fire service, I was 27 years old, and then that was the first time I'd actually worked with a female, or been in a team with a female, only purely because of the environments and the industries that I've been working in before. So for myself, it was very it was a new challenge. No, it wasn't a challenge. It was just, for me, it was a new experience. And obviously, again, not knowing kind of what to say, what to expect. And that was only purely because I hadn't been immersed in that sort of world before, working with in sort of mixed gender teams and stuff like that. So when you, let's talk about going through training. Did you feel any sort of different to your male colleagues? Did you have any more female firefighters on your recruit course?
So there was 19 in total on our course, and 4 of us were female, which was great.
Yeah.
So I think it was probably a very different experience if you'd been the only female. So having 4 of us was definitely, I suppose it was like a little comfort blanket. You weren't on your own for it, which was nice, and maybe pulled you through it actually.
Yeah.
So training was definitely the toughest part of it. All the people on our course, the males, they were fantastic. They were great, and they were really supportive of us, and just, there was some of them were just like, fair play to what you're doing. Our girlfriends couldn't do this, and which was nice to hear.
But on that flip, sorry to jump in, but on that flip side, just like comments like that, you kind of think like, oh yeah, it's helpful, but I don't know if it's kind of like passive aggressive, because it's a kind of like oh, well done, like you said about my girlfriend. But there's plenty of female firefighters, and their boyfriends or husbands couldn't do the job.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a gender, because it's a mindset thing. It's it's a resilience thing, and I don't think it's a question of male and female. I think you could have a fire engine full of female firefighters quite easily. You don't need the men to prop it up.
Because it was really tough. Like I did struggle with it. I think comments like that actually helped me a little bit, because it made me feel like the days where I was struggling, it made me feel less weak.
Yeah.
And because I knew him, I don't think that they necessarily meant it in that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, interesting spin on it. I never actually looked at it.
But again, going obviously what you're saying, and you're saying the days where you're struggling now, kind of obviously just playing devil's advocate here. Remember when it was in my course, there were guys that were struggling, and we were helping them out, having to help out them. And there was guys that went to quit, and it was their first experience of being at home. And again, I don't think that's down to male or female. I think that's just down to what your experience is. And like I said, it just kind of, like I said, it's that passive aggressive feed of kind of conditioning you to think like, that you're the only one that's going to have them down days. And it's only the female athletes that maybe get, female firefighters, they get kind of emotional, or, if they can't do something, it's, if they can't do the manual part of it, like knots and lines, or, operate the LPP, or the equipment, it's because females don't have the manual dexterity and stuff like that. Whereas that's not the case. There's plenty of guys that struggle, but that just never got highlighted. And I kind of think it's up against you, because again, whatever the numbers are, I think when I joined, I think there was only one female on our course. So again, she only stood out only purely because of numbers.
Yeah.
But she was up there. There was no, she was definitely involved, and there was no element of where her being a female held her back. But she was an ex-retained firefighter. She was quite mature. She had a family. She had kids, so she was quite well lived.
Yeah.
Whereas I think maybe if a younger person, where we had younger guys that literally just left home, but they were guys, but they weren't seen in that way because they were guys and not a female. But I think if it was a female that was 18 years old and got quite emotional and struggled and stuff like that, they won't look at the person. They'd look at the fact that she's a female.
Yeah, I do think you're right in that case. And there was a little bit of that, like, because there was a lot of emotions when you got 4 females together.
And personally, even holding my hand up, like I left the Marines on a Friday and joined the recruits training on a Monday. So I was in all sorts of worlds of shock and capture at the time.
Yeah.
And I probably would have thought of that straight away if I saw a female. I would have had that kind of subconscious, like, well, I hope she can cut it or whatever. You know what I mean? But whereas obviously I've evolved and I've worked with female, especially, and seeing female athletes now, I can see the use of language and like I said about the passive aggressiveness and the patronizing, what that kind of chips away and drip feeds each day into then how a female will think.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So you're obviously in the job for 4 years now.
Yep.
Again, how do you feel as your sort of position in the fire service? Again, do you feel that gender is an issue for yourself? We don't obviously want to talk about whether it is for others, because we don't really care about that. It's more about you. Like how do you feel? And
for myself, I don't feel like it's an issue at all.
Yep.
I think when you initially go in, you have, or maybe you put a little bit more pressure on yourself, because you don't want yourself to be rubbish and it to be because you're a female. As you said, you've got guys that could be rubbish and whatnot, but that's just because they're rubbish. But if you're rubbish, it's going to be because you're a girl and you're not meant to be here. Yeah. So I think you probably put a bit of pressure on yourself in that way, because you want to be keen, you want to do well, and also you want to be respected. And I think the reason I don't notice it now is I feel like, especially like my watch, I feel like I've got the respect of my watch, and I go in every day. I don't feel any different. I think we all know what our strengths and weaknesses are. So I've definitely got weaknesses, and they'll help me if I as you were saying earlier about the LPP and the manual stuff, because I wasn't exposed to it at a young age. It's not so natural. And when they try and compare it to car engines, and I'm sitting there like, what? Because it's not what. Physically I think I'm all right, but down that side, it's not so natural to me. But then, I think we work well as a team. They've got weaknesses, and so I don't notice it now. I recently went to a different watch as well. Didn't notice it there either. And I think from the stories you hear from the old times,
Yeah.
I think it would have been a lot tougher back then because of how people perceived it. But nowadays, I don't see it. I think that people still have issues with, I don't want to say with females that are rubbish, just people that are rubbish at their job, regardless if they are male or female. If they're rubbish, they're still going to tell them. But no.
I think it's just about maintaining that standard, and and it should never be and again, I should imagine that you would want to be treated any different or given any special treatment just because you was knowing you how you are, just because you are a female. I don't think that you'd like an easier ride or a different approach just because you are.
No, not at all.
Which again is just as bad. It should just be that's the standard, and that's it. So when you're out and about in town and you're going to incidents and stuff like that, what's the people's perception like, or the general public when they sort of see a female firefighter, even though females have been in the fire service for a very long time? Every station has them, but how do you?
A lot of the time, because obviously you're in a kit, you got your hair up, your helmet on, they don't really notice straight away. It's sometimes when they've been referring as firemen, or they just don't realise you're a lady, and you take your helmet off or whatnot, and they're like, oh, it's a lady, or oh, it's a female, But sometimes there's shock. Again, that comes more from the older generation.
Yeah.
And I've never had it from anyone in an anti-shocked way, if that one, it's just more of a, oh, that's a nice or a pleasant surprise, rather than oh, what are you doing, doing this job. You get obviously a couple of comments sometimes. Again, I've never felt that they were negative massively towards me, but oh, would you be able to pull me out of the fire, and just those kinds of sort of comments. But again, I've never felt like someone's meant them in a massively negative way towards me. It's more of they're inquisitive about it, I think.
Yeah, and I think people are just quick to just, say throwaway comments. Again, going back to what you were saying, Lottie, when people just like saying, oh, you're a lesbian if you play football or you play a sport. It's just like, where's your head at? Like, if that's how you connect the dots, it's ridiculous. But even so, if you was, then so what? It doesn't mean because you like football that's why you're a lesbian. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Exactly. So and I just think sometimes some people just need to be, again, we don't want to kind of censor everything, but just think about what your comment actually is. If you're going to say something that's actually quite sort of true. But usually when people make comments, it's because for them, I should imagine for a lot of guys, they probably would have loved to join the fire service, but for whatever reason they haven't. And then they see a female, it's the old cliche of saying, oh yeah, I couldn't get in because they only wanted females, or they only wanted ethnic minorities.
You get that all the time.
Yeah, and it's just like, well, why could you there's no reason why you couldn't do it. There's always somebody else's excuse. And again, with and a lot of men, I think, are intimidated by strong females as well, and confident females, especially again if they're not from that environment. You can tell that they're kind of put off, and we find that obviously where we hold our training and stuff like that. When if it's a packed class full of our top athletes, and when the workout's going on and they're slinging some good weight around and doing some good high level gymnastics, and you see guys that try and lift the same weight and they just haven't got the strength or the skill or anything, and we don't usually see them come back after that because it's because of their ego, and they feel embarrassed, whereas that would never bother me. Been in many competitions and teams where female athletes definitely are kicking ass, and I love watching the competition, especially you can see that at the CrossFit Games as well. It's so competitive. All the events, the female is the one to watch because every event anyone can win it, and absolutely phenomenal. So moving on from there, would you say, kind of obviously again your own personal views, would you say that the world is a male dominated environment? would you say that, or would you say that it's an equal? I suppose it's hard to obviously to try and answer that in the sense of the whole world in general, because obviously different lands and obviously have different perceptions. But I think as Britain, we're quite open-minded. But you know, yeah, how would you see your world? Do you feel that you're second place in your world, or do you feel even?
No. Oh, go on, Lottie. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you go now.
Oh, definitely very British. You go. I go. No,
You go.
Go on then. Kick off first.
I think in some respects it probably is. In my personal experience, I wouldn't have said it has been so much, because I think if there's something I've wanted, I've gone out there and I've got it.
Yeah.
I haven't made the excuse because you're a female or because of this. I've just gone, do you know what? I'm going to give it a go. Or I think there probably are people that hold back because they're female and they may feel it's a more male-dominated world. I mean, there's probably has been at times where I've thought that, but I can't on the top of my head think of those particular experiences right now.
I think it's down to, like you said, it's what you're chasing.
Yeah.
And if you're using the term outlier, if you're an outlier to what that normally is, so say like in the fire service, if it is a perceived male dominant environment, you automatically become an outlier to that obviously goal. So yeah, you may think or see there's some barriers. Now it depends whether you get that and chase it, or whether you think that holds you back and then you don't go for it. That's why I asked you the question about the 10-year gap. Did you ever feel it's because you're a female that you can go for it, and where you said it wasn't? So again, you know, it's like anything. If I were to play basketball, me being, you know, a fun size athlete, you know, I'm going to be an outlier to that, because, you know, predominantly basketball players are, you know, considerably tall athletes. But it doesn't mean I can't be a basketball player. It just means that I have to work that little bit harder and use my strengths of whatever that would be, low center of gravity. Just dribble through the legs. That's my advantage, and that's what I'd have to try and work on. So I think depending on obviously what you chase, sometimes you've got a good hand, and sometimes you have maybe a less stronger hand, but you're still in the game, and you can still work for it. Awesome. What about yourself, Lottie? You've experienced a complete difference before in terms of pay, obviously being a footballer.
Yeah, so in the top flight of my career, we'll say, at the ripe age of 21, just before I had to retire through injury, we were playing in Bedford Ladies were playing in the Women's Premier League. We were Division 1 of that. So in the grand scheme of footballing kind of leagues, we were the 4th tier down in women's football, so pretty high. But then in equivalent to the men's, we would be, I guess, the equivalent to League 2 in male football. They are professional athletes. We had to pay subs to play. I was very lucky. My parents always paid my subs because they knew I enjoyed it so much, but it wasn't cheap. Let alone paying for boots, kit, training. Our whole weekend was taken up by football because we had to travel the country to play, to find that kind of quality of football, that level of football that we wanted to play. So a lot of time, effort and money was put into it from our perspective. The only time I remember the club getting a little bit of money was when we played in the FA Cup. We got through to the first round proper. We had a couple of qualifying rounds, which some people don't even know that that's a thing. Even in the male FA Cup, there are qualifying rounds that lower clubs play in. So we got through to the first round proper, and we got a little bit of money, but I'm talking hundreds of pounds versus a couple £100 versus we looked at it one day, we looked at the equivalent. The males would be getting a couple grand at that stage into the first round proper, and we would get a couple £100, which might pay the subs of not even one person. So major.
And you could imagine even any sort of professional level, players having to pay to play, even non-league players still get paid, and even in regional football, players still get paid.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
but they get looked after, travel, subs, you know, and you're at a higher level, and yeah, you're having to pay for
Yeah,
that.
which
You know?
I guess in a way we loved playing. We
Yeah.
kind of didn't really reflect on it. We weren't all trying to make a career out of it, but kind of looking back on it, maybe if we did have that support and that kind of network, maybe we could have progressed further than we did. So yeah, just by not having that opportunity, kind of gave us that that negative outlook on that kind of professional status.
Yeah, I think with obviously with like any sport, you know, a lot of people say that, you know, money does ruin a lot of it, and I think, like, you know, you said, you touched on it there, and you just, with the lack of money, it just shows that you was paying for the love of the sport, and it was played in the right way, you know. And like I said, if you're paying for the privilege to play and taking all them sacrifices and that time to travel and the logistics, is, you know, is played in the best way. And
Absolutely.
it's true its form, and it's not all about money and, you know, fighting and stuff like that, contracts and, you know,
Yeah,
stuff like
exactly.
that. Yeah, awesome. Okay, so if you could say if we had someone listening who's a female and lacks self-confidence and self-belief, because they are kind of harboring the thoughts that because they are female they can't achieve what they want to achieve, is there kind of any advice you'd give, or any sort of knowledge or you know, experience that you want to share to, you know, to overcome that?
I think you've just got to be a bit brave and
Yeah.
just try. I don't think there's, you know, you're going to fall down sometimes and stuff and get, you know, knocked back with it, but you will learn from that, definitely. Yeah, you've just got to get yourself out there a bit, and just, I think if you seem confident with it as well, you'll just do better. Like, yeah, you just got to, like I said, if you don't have that confidence in yourself, just pretend you have and see what it does. And all of a sudden, you honestly,
you make it. Yeah.
Like, you will. And I think you've just got to, you know, no one gets given anything. You do have to work at it, and yeah, I think you've just got to try. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Lottie?
Yeah, I like that word, that confidence. I think it's kind of instilled in a female to not be too outspoken, to kind of always end up taking the back seat behind a male. The world can't revolve without us as females. We produce the world.
Yeah.
So yeah, just being able to have that little bit of inner confidence, however that comes out. If you don't believe in yourself, then how are you expected to change and influence the perception of other people of females? So yeah, that kind of inner belief that you can do anything is necessary before that can be put out onto other people.
Awesome. Yeah. Good words, guys. Well done. Yeah, I'd say, like, it's just in anything. I think, you know, what we're trying to get across here is, you know, we're talking about what it's like for you to be a female in a perceived, you know, and I use the term perceived male dominant environment. Reason being, again, I just, like, you're a human being, you know, gender shouldn't come into play in anything in the same way as disability, sexual orientation, ethnicity, or anything like that. You are an individual person. And if you let people that hold them views, that's just going to hold you back. And if you stop caring what other people think, and like you said, no, just be brave and just take that first step forward, and like you said, Lottie, just maintain that confidence and that inner self-belief, then you can you know, you can achieve whatever you want to achieve. You know, the only person that's ever holding you back is actually yourself.
Absolutely.
Others and their comments, you have to obviously just work around them, shut off what you can, and then just work around what you can't. Cool. Guys, awesome chat. Thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it. Just to finish off, a couple of things. So just to finish off, we're going to do something called overrated, underrated. So I'm just going to say a couple of words or one word, and then you just have to tell me underrated or overrated. So what we'll do is we'll go around and we'll go, I'll say what it is, and then Lottie, you go first, and then Naomi, you go after from there.
Cool.
Okay, so female sport.
Underrated.
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 Underrated, yes, definitely. Okay, Tiger King.
Oh, underrated.
I have to say, I haven't actually watched it yet, so I'm going to say overrated because everyone's banging on about it.
There we go. Pizza.
Oh, underrated.
Yeah.
Overrated.
Overrated. Oh, controversial. New Year's Eve.
Overrated.
Overrated.
Okay, Ed Sheeran.
Underrated. Yeah, that's a bit of Ed.
Definitely underrated then.
I remember having this conversation before.
Okay, so you can see where we're going with this point. Okay, reading.
Oh, underrated.
Yeah.
Underrated.
Underrated, definitely. Social media.
Oh, overrated. Yeah. Questionable.
Yeah, it's the next one.
Yeah.
Overrated for just general stuff, for like business and all things like that. I think it's underrated. It's good for it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's actually, social media, not a massive fan, but I think it's more my perception of it, and I think it's definitely overrated. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Friends, the TV show. Not your
underrated.
I like underrated.
Yeah. Overrated. Be careful with this one. House music.
Oh, yeah, underrated.
Overrated.
Right. Thanks for all your time, Naomi. Okay, and mobility.
Oh, wow. I think it would be a crime if I didn't say it was underrated.
Underrated.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I've learned that over this lockdown. Yeah. So that leads me nicely onto some shameless plugs. So Lottie, if you want to sort of advertise anything or direct anyone to anything that you've got going on.
Yes, so even though I haven't necessarily been able to do any hands-on work, I am still working. I'm still offering virtual online sports therapy sessions. So whether you've got an injury, an ache, pain, you want some just simple advice, mobility sessions, you can get in contact either through, I'm on all social medias, Facebook, Instagram, my website, Better Body Sports Therapy. If you type that into Google, I'm sure you'd find where you need to be. We're just here to help offer some support and advice during these times. And then eventually when we can all go back outside again, I'm based in Bedford for proper treatment and therapy.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll put the links on below. When we
Fab.
Awesome. Thank you. And Naomi?
Yeah, so with the gymnastics, obviously I'm not running at the minute. I've just got my Facebook page, which is Flex and Flip Gymnastics, based in Biggleswade, Edward Peak School. Just do Monday and Tuesday evenings. We're quite full at the minute and do have a waiting list, but I do like summer sessions and holiday sessions as well. So if there's any interest, then get in touch on that.
Awesome. Guys, okay, once again, I can't thank you enough for your time. Really appreciate you coming on. It's been a fantastic discussion. I've learned lots and it's been a good insight. Thank you very much. For those who are either watching or listening, again, I hope you've enjoyed the session. Love to hear your comments and feedback. We've got a few more discussions lined up where we talk about weight loss, bodybuilding, depression, battling suicide, transitioning from military to civilian life, and a whole host of things. If you want to share your journey or you want to empower and connect with those who listen, again, please get in touch and we'd love to have you on the show. Guys, awesome job. Thank you very much for our first.
Well, thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks very much. Take care. See you soon. Goodbye.
Bye.